Good evening. It's Tuesday, December the 6th, 2022. The regular school board meeting is now convened at 6 p.m. The school board would like to take this moment to respectfully acknowledge we are residing on the traditional land of the Dene people. Our mission is to provide an excellent, equitable education in a safe, supportive environment so all students will succeed and contribute to a diverse and changing society. The Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll stand, Ms. Marati will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible.
Thank you. Ms. Richardson, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Colonel Alvarado is excused and Colonel Surrey is expected. Mr. Doran?
Here.
Mrs. Burnett?
Here.
Mrs. Hardy?
Here.
Mrs. Matheson?
Here.
Ms. Marati is by Zoom.
Here,
Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Sanderson?
Here.
Thank you. The board has a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight, we're joined by the Lathrop High School Choir under the direction of Ms. Gwendolyn Brazier, who's the choir director. Our core value is to maintain high expectation and educational opportunities to inspire higher achievements.
Where's the best place for me to stand? Hello, members of the board and everybody in the audience. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you so much for having us sing for you. We're really excited to have performances at the school board again and being able to bring that back to you guys. We have members of the Lathrop High School Concert Choir with us today, and if I could have everybody stand, we're going to do the national anthem first.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. Our second selection and final selection for you will be Sevivon, which is a Hebrew carol for Hanukkah.
Sevivon, sof, 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 Hanukkah, hu haktov, Hanukkah, hu haktov, Sevivon, sof, 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 Hasim ha'ulam, Nes gadol hayasham, Nes gadol hayasham, Hasim ha'ulam. vivons, so, 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 Hanukkah, Huhakov, Hanukkah, Huhakov, vivons, so, 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 Oxim ha'olam, Nesgadol hayasham, Nesgadol hayasham, Oxim ha'olam. Vivons, so, 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 Hanukkah, Huhakov, Hanukkah, Huhakov, vivons, so, 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 Oxim ha'olam, Nesgadol hayasham, Nesgadol hayasham, Oxim ha'olam. So, 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 Hanukkah, Huhakov, Hanukkah, Huhakov, vivons, so, 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 Oxim ha'olam, Nesgadol hayasham, Nesgadol hayasham, Oxim ha'olam. Oxim ha'olam, Oxim ha'olam, Nesgadol hayasham, Oxim ha'olam. Vivons, so, 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 Hanukkah, 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 Huhakov, Hanukkah, Huhakov. Vivons, so, so, so.
Thank you very much. This is the Lathrop High School Concert Choir members. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Miss Blazer, could I interrupt you? Could you please have the students introduce themselves?
Thank you. My apologies. That's funny. All right. Sorry, you can say it really loud, please.
I'm Isabel Timmons.
I'm Kylie Haas.
I'm Ava Stewart.
I'm Jenny McGee.
I'm Alexander Jones.
I'm Keegan Cole. I'm David Cho.
And I'm Gwendolyn Brazier. And thank you again for having us.
And thank you for joining us. Just a quick comment as they leave the auditorium or the boardroom. Our students are just completed their all-state competition, so our music teachers from across the district and students across the district placed very well, so we're very proud of them. Glad they could join us again tonight. Next on our agenda is contest winners for kid voting. The core value is maintaining high expectations and educational opportunities to explore high achievement. Kid Voting North Alaska, in conjunction with the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, held a local poster, writing, and podcast contest for K-12 students. Ellen Weiser, Kid Voting President, and Fawn Julie, Kids Voting North Alaska Education Coordinator, will make the presentation.
Hi, I'm Fawn Jelinek with the Education Coordinator for Kids Voting North Alaska, and we're very grateful for the participation from the district, from the teachers, the librarians, and the students in our poster contest and in the voting. So I'd like to congratulate our winners, and I'm going to show their posters here. So we have 3 poster contest winners, and the first one is Nevada Height, who is a student at Weller Elementary. Is Nevada here? Come on up, Nevada. And here is Nevada's poster. There you go. Got a couple certificates for you. There you go. And here's your framed poster. Congratulations. Okay. And our next winner. Nice job. sorry, I'm not sure if it's Charlie or Charlie Stanford, student at Barnett Magnet School. And here is her poster. Is she here? No? Okay, we will get that to her. Thank you. And our third poster contest winner is also a student at Barnett Magnet School, Sophie Weiser. Is Sophie with us today? Awesome. Just so that I don't get your certificates. Here's your poster framed for you.
Ms. Julia,
Congratulations, good job.
could we please have the students come by the
Oh,
board?
yes. I want to, Nevada, you want to come shake hands with the board members? In addition to the poster contest winners, we have an essay contest winner, Taylor Crone, a student at North Pole High School. And we have his essay here. Is Taylor here today? Nope. Okay, we'll make sure this gets to him. And those are all of our awards. And we thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a round of applause for them. Next on the agenda is we have the ASAA First National Bank Alaska Swim and Dive State Champions. The core value is to maintain high expectations and educational opportunities to inspire higher achievement. The district had one student who won 2 state championships titles at the recent 2022 ASAA First National Bank Alaska Swim and Dive State Competitions. Samantha Boster was the first place finisher in the girls' 100-yard freestyle and the girls' 300-yard freestyle, coached by Chris Haglund, West Valley High School head swim coach. Samantha has recently signed to swim Division I, University of Nevada, Reno. Additionally, the West Valley High School girls swim team received the ASAA State Championship Award.
I think I got it. Okay. Okay, perfect. Good evening. I would like to welcome you all in regards to Samantha Brister's state championship. Just a clarification, it's a 200 freestyle, not a 300 freestyle. Chris Haglund sends her regards. She is busy fixing a flat tire, so she's left me to this honor. So West Valley took a large group of swimmers and divers to state this year, one of the largest groups in the state. We would like to congratulate Samantha Brister, if she could please come up, on her first place finishes in both of her events, the 100 free and the 200 free. So. The West Valley girls team was also the recipient of the Sportsmanship Award at the state championship. The girls conducted themselves well on deck, were friendly and good sports with other swimmers and teams, and made us proud. Thank you. This includes, and please come up if you were able to make it tonight. I know we have some at practice for other sports, work, and studies for finals this week. Kendall Brister. Tate Dixon. Olivia Lent. Adelaide Lewandowski. Mayumi Schatzel. Blake Secor. Fiona Secor. And Talia Wentz. Congratulations to Samantha and the West Valley swim team.
Once again, we congratulate our students on their achievements. Now we move on to the ESP of the month. The core value is maintain high expectations and educational opportunities to inspire a high achievement. Tamara Platt, Hutchinson High School Administrative Secretary, will be recognized as the ESP of the month for December 2022. Robin Taylor, Hutchinson High School Principal, will make the presentation.
I'm going to hand you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present this award. I've been with the school district 8 years, and this was the first time that I had nominated somebody. But I don't say that to be like, oh, I just didn't nominate anybody. I feel very passionate about that when you nominate somebody for an award, that person will have shown through their daily efforts all the values and abilities that you really are looking for in that super extra special person. And that is exactly what Ms. Platt is. Ms. Platt and I have had the opportunity to work together 5 years? 5 years at Hutch. I was so happy to steal her from the existing Nordale at the time, and I've stolen a few others, like Gretchen as well. But at Hutchinson, we're the Hawks, and we use the motto that we fly together as one. Tammy has served as all of the branches holding that nest together that helps Hutchinson High School be the school that it is. She is the one that creates the foundation that allows our students and staff to take flight. She tends to know the ins and the outs of everything happening in the building and helps navigate and find solutions to all of the issues that surface with a constant professional can-do attitude. As a building administrator, I have 100% confidence in Tammy's abilities to assist, solve, and just help troubleshoot any situations that surface, whether it be substitutes, student issues, technology, electricity, sprinklers going off. Tammy is one of those rocks that are the foundations to houses. She's become known across the district as one of the main administrative secretaries that others will call on for assistance, whether it be helping troubleshoot Munis, Time Clock Plus, Power School, In Touch, whatever it is. Tammy seems to know way more than I do about those programs, but enough that she can help assist not just myself, but others across the district. And I think it's so valuable to have that willingness in the district, not just in our building, but among the district as a whole, for staff to be able to feel confident to reach out and help one another. And Tammy's helped build that, that rapport across the district. As with all buildings right now, we frequently arrive to learn that we are short substitutes. Tammy enters the building each morning, and she quickly reviews the staffing needs and puts together a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle in 30 minutes in solving the substitute shuffle. And that's really what it is throughout the day. And she does it every day with a smile, and she usually has it done before I arrive at 7, so that then we can spend the next 30 minutes standing at the front entryway greeting students. That is a trait that I just so appreciate in Tammy, is her ability and willingness to problem solve, but then that professionalism and that ability to stand out front and greet students and just welcome them or their parents into the building. So, man, I could go on and on, but Tammy, I so appreciate, she gets my type A personality. And not very many, I think a lot of people do, but Tammy gets it to the sense of where I need her to get it as the admin secretary in the building. I can give her a vision of what I want to happen, and we may sit and talk about it for 5 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, but every time we've sat and talked about a direction I want to go, I've stepped away from that conversation knowing that whatever I've tasked her with is 100% taken care of, and usually on a higher level than what I had envisioned. So appreciated. A prime example of that was during our COVID conundrum, when we immediately went into lockdown, and we quickly realized that we weren't going to be coming out of this remote setting for a while. I had shared with Tammy and a few others in the front office my vision of how we could get the lockers cleaned out and get the materials to students in an efficient manner. And I remember sitting with Tammy and a few of the other staff up front, and I could tell that Tammy understood my vision. I could tell the others were still kind of struggling with how that was going to make sense and really work, but I remember looking at Tammy, and I could just see in her eyes, like, I get it. I know where you're going with this. That particular year, for those who may or may not remember, that next Friday, I decided to fly off of a roof and found out that I can't fly, and I shattered my heel and didn't get the opportunity to come back to the building. But I remember calling often to see how everything was going and hearing how well this check-in and check-out process that Tammy with the others had set up was working, and then kind of hearing of some of the other struggles across the district of people, trying to figure out how do we clean out lockers and get them to the hands of the parents driving up and the books they need. For all accounts, it was running so smoothly at Hutch that it didn't seem to be a task. So those are just some of the examples that I want to share with Tammy. I wish every building could have a Tammy, but they can't have mine. So with that said, Tammy, thank you so much for being you. Congratulations. Thank you. And you get to shake everybody's hands. Do you want me to hold your balloons? No, this is mine. Oh, yes, this is yours.
Moving on in our agenda, We are now at the adoption of the agenda. Core value is student-centered and center everything we do on students and student learning. The consent agenda items marked with an asterisk are considered routine items not requiring public discussion by the school board. Unless removed from the consent agenda, asterisk items will be automatically approved if the agenda is adopted. Questions concerning these items should be directed to the administration before the meeting. If the superintendent or a member of the public wishes to have an item removed from the consent agenda, the request must be made by a board member anytime prior to the start of the meeting. The board member has the discretion to accept or to deny the request. Only board members may remove an item from the consent agenda. If an item is removed from the consent agenda, it is considered separate as the last item of new business. Asterisk items will then be adopted by a single motion.
Move to adopt the agenda with consent items.
Seconded.
Could I get a roll call, Ms. Richardson?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy?
Yes.
Ms. Marati?
Yes.
Mr. Dorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson?
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Oh, Ms. Maline, would you please read our consent agenda? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Anderson. To accept the award amount of $20,925 from the Migrant Literacy Grant from the United States Department of Education through the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development. Approve Randy Smith Middle School request to fundraise approximately $2,000 by hosting a holiday social to raise funds to help provide additional resources for their department and/or students. Approve University Park Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,000 by selling wooden roses in February 2023 to raise funds as a community service project to donate comfort teddy bears and blankets to the UAF Fire Department. Approve Woodward River Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,250 by holding a practice-a-thon to raise funds to purchase a class set of ukuleles. Approve Wood River Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $2,000 by hosting a silent auction to raise funds for ice rink upkeep and ice skate sharpening. For North Pole High School request for permission for its JROTC program to raise approximately $8,000 to send JROTC candidates and instructors to Sandy, Utah, or Camp Perry, Ohio on February 1st through 6th, 2023, or February 8th through 13th, 2023, for air rifle competition at no cost to the district, and if any local, state, or federal travel or health warnings are issued, the students will not travel. Approve Tanana Middle School's request for permission for its close-up students to raise approximately $2,000 to send students and chaperones to Washington, D.C. on March 15th through the 23rd, 2023, to learn about government, civics, and history at no cost to the district, and if any local, state, or federal travel health warnings are issued, the students will not travel. Accept the donation of $1,154.85 from Barnett Magnet PTA to Barnett Magnet School to support the school's robotics club. Accept the donation of $1,382 from Barnett Magnet PTA to Barnett Magnet School to support the school's scholastic books for students. Accept the donation of $2,500 from the Fireside Family Medicine LLC to Ben Allison Junior Senior High School to support the school's wrestling team. Accept the donation of $3,000 from EOSC Welfare Fund to Ben Allison Junior Senior High School to support the school's wrestling team. Accept the donation of $1,000 from Fairbanks Youth Sports Charity Fund to Lathrop High School to support the school's boys basketball team. Accept the donation of $1,841.18 from Midnight Sun PTA to Midnight Sun Elementary School to support the school's students. Accept the donation of $1,000 from American Legion Auxiliary to North Pole High School to support the school's team travel. Accept the donation of $1,000 from American Legion C, Miller Post 30 Gaming to North Pole High School to support the school's ROTC program. Accept the donation of $1,000 from the Sons of American Legion to the West Valley High School to support the school's JROTC rifle program. Accept the donation of $16,620.81 from West Valley Boys Soccer Booster to West Valley High School to support the school's 2021-2022 boys soccer season. Approve the personal action report for the period November 5th through November 22nd, 2022. Approve the minutes of November 1st and November 15th, 2022 regular board meetings, and November 1st and November 14th special meetings, and November 1st and November 14th work session as submitted. Acknowledge a personnel information report for the period November 5th through November 22nd, 2022. Acknowledge the budget transfer report for the period November 1st through November 15th, 2022. Acknowledge the board's reading file, and acknowledge the board's coming events and meeting announcements.
Thank you, Ms. Moline. Could we just give a round of applause for all of the donations that we've taken tonight for our schools and our children? Next are public comments on non-agenda items. I do apologize for my voice tonight. Public comments on and reports on non-agenda items include public comments, input, ideas, and suggestions are welcome on salaries, benefits, and any other contractual items regarding the Education Support Staff Association and Fairbanks Education Association. A person testifying shall state their full name, spelling their last name, and their city of residence for the record. Board members may ask questions for clarification. Although there is time at the end of each meeting for school board and chief school administrator comments, some concerns may not be able to be addressed immediately as additional information may be gathered. Public comments, input, ideas, and suggestions. Oh, I just read that. Do we have anybody signed up? Is there anybody in the audience wishing to, would you please come forward and state your name, spell your last name, and you have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Scott Calder, C-A-L-D-E-R, Esther area. Is that good?
Go ahead.
So it came to my attention recently that there is a discussion at some level, I'm not exactly sure what the context is, about reducing or eliminating staffing for the theaters in the school district. I don't know if that's just talk or brainstorm, but I just wanted to act on that immediately and say what a terrible idea that is. I hope anybody who has it in their mind to change the current way things are, I just hope that they'll stop thinking that way. I could go into great detail, but I've been working on shows for decades at the local theaters, most of which are operated or possessed, I guess, by the school district. And the facility manager at Herring Auditorium is fabulous. Her staff is fabulous. It's just a really reliable, safe, efficient beautiful operation that's a great service to the community, and I would hope that, again, just like, and you know, I talked to a friend of mine who also does shows just yesterday. I said, you know, I heard that they were talking about doing something with that, and she hardly even let me finish my sentence before she was like, just, you know, hair on fire, upset about the idea. I know I've seen Mr. Dorn many times in connection with the student performances, the school performances that are done by a lot of the groups. Yeah, that would just be a terrible idea. I could go into a lot of detail about that, but I think it's distinctly in the interest of the school district to protect that property and to make sure that it continues to run as smoothly as it has for several years now.
All right, thank you, sir. That is your time. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Is there any other testimonies coming forth out of the public tonight? Seeing none, public testimony is closed. And do we have anyone for the borough report tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to the president's report. So we are moving according to schedule on our superintendent search survey. It will close December the 9th, which will be the last opportunity to participate. Carm has done a great job organizing the virtual stakeholder meetings, which is scheduled for December the 6th, 7th, and 8th. All board members have completed the board interviews. Board will meet on December the 12th with Ray and Associates to finalize superintendent profile and promotional flyer. Rebecca Herbie has shared her promotion of the slideshow, which includes 2 or 3 embedded in videos. Molly with Ray and Associates will be inserting the final information to accompany the application packets for the candidates on December the 13th. I will be working with the chief school administrator on transitional planning in preparation to receive the new superintendent and departure plan for our current CSA. I would like to just do this quick quote out of the Alaska Educational Update that we received, where Senator Tobin was talking about the reforming of their committees there in Juneau. And one of his comments is that he said, education has suffered because of the cost of doing business. He thinks that they need to take a serious look at increasing funding, and he thinks most members agree. He said an additional problem is attracting and retaining teachers. Their goal will be to lower energy costs, improve education, and revitalize the economy. So as we come up on our time to start legislating and looking at budgets, we know who we should be talking to. I did give a shout out already to our district-wide music teachers and our students who performed in their all-state competition. I would like to congratulate Denali Elementary School Principal Becky Zerl and their Thanksgiving celebration, where the Lathrop High School Band and Choir and their dance troupe was in attendance. The students there had a great day. Several board members had the pleasure of serving the students their dinner. I was a guest speaker for the general membership meeting at the NAACP and was able to discuss our superintendent search, North Star College, and CTE pathways for our students. visited several congregations to share with them our superintendent's search educational opportunities for students. I did a quick video for the Education Support Staff Association to just encourage our education support professionals to take the survey so that their voice would be heard. All of the information that we're gathering is going to be used to determine our next superintendent in our school district. And I just wanted to encourage them to please have their voice counted so that we can know what they're thinking and what their perspectives would be so that they have good representation. Finally, for me, and this is the month of holiday celebrations of Christmas, where we take time to be with our family and friends. The Golden Heart City is busy with community organizations that are supplying gifts to our students. Santa Helpers, Salvation Army, Angel Tree, and as you shop for your family, shop and donate gifts. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Chief School Administrator report.
President Sanderson,
Yes, Ms. Marati?
are we allowed to ask a question?
Oh, sure. If you have a question for me, go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned that the virtual stakeholder meetings are happening today, tomorrow, and the 8th.
Yes.
Can you say who those stakeholders are?
I don't have the list in
Because I
front.
wasn't aware of them.
Yeah, right. I don't have the list in front, but the different groups are already meeting, and I'm sure the board will have an update as to how the stakeholders are made up. But they're worked on the list with me, and there are various stakeholders throughout the community. We've had excellent response from community members, community leaders that are participating, and that information will be compiled and presented to the board.
Okay, so we don't know who those stakeholders are?
We do know who they are. I just don't have the list in front of me, and the information will be compiled and presented to the board.
Okay. Also, you mentioned that there was a slideshow that will be provided to the candidates. Is the board privy to that slideshow?
The board will be privy to that slideshow
Do you know when?
soon.
Okay. Can I request, unless I'm missing the emails, and if I am, I apologize, and I will get with Carm on that, but can I request more communication about what's transpiring in between school board meetings? Because I feel like I'm missing a lot.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you. We'll go on now to our Chief School Administrator report.
Thank you, President Sanderson. I'm going to begin my report with a hiring update. We have been recruiting for positions in the 23-24 school year. We have begun that process. This is a bit of a change from how we've done in previous years, but the fact of the matter is that these are different times than we've lived in before when it comes to recruiting for educators. Many districts across Alaska and even the lower 48 request teachers to sign contracts by February or March. So if educators are looking to make a change, this is the time of year that they're going to begin looking, and we wanted to make sure that we were a part of that process for them. So the teaching positions that we know are available were posted December 1st. And the principal positions that we know are going to be open will be posted December 9th. So if any educators are looking for a change out there anywhere, be sure and visit our website for the openings. A really quick negotiations update. January 13th, the ESSA, the Support Staff Union, has a scheduled meeting with the mediator, and we're waiting for details on scheduling the FEA mediation. I also wanted to give a really quick update on the VAN plan, where we are with that. Durham has posted for van driver positions, but have not hired anyone specifically to be a van driver yet. Once the van routes are established, there will be filling those van positions, those driver positions with current drivers that we have now and drivers that are in training that have met the qualifications to be a van driver but haven't quite gotten their CDL yet. So we'll also look to fill those van driver positions with operational staff until Durham can get folks hired specifically for those routes. We're working on routing first all of our McKinney-Vento and students in foster care to eliminate the need for to put our students in cabs to get to school. We're focusing first on our elementary school students, which we're pretty confident we'll be able to get all of those students in vans. And we want to try to fit everyone in for a couple of reasons. First of all, because we feel that's a safer way to transport students than in cabs. And secondly, because we are going to we were set to renegotiate our contract with the cab companies, and their prices were going up. So we're hoping to get all of that in place and going right away. We had already hoped to have it going, but because of the extensive absenteeism for our current bus drivers, we haven't been able to take anyone from those routes and put them on our van routes. That's not necessarily an unusual thing for this time of year. In conversation with other districts around the state, there's a high rate of absenteeism this time of year for bus drivers. We've reached out to the SMART program to find out what kind of demands they have for transportation, but we haven't heard back from them yet on that. And we'll just continue to work on our routes and getting those vans out and running and picking up those students. So December 16th is the end of the second quarter, which marks the halfway point for this school year. And just a reminder that December 14th, 15th, and 16th are early release days. So if that's not on your calendar, you need to make sure that you mark that. And then the administrative building will be closed December 26th and 27th, as well as January 2nd, in observance of the holiday season. And I want to close my remarks with our strategic plan, strategic goal, and district objectives. And the number one is student success. And we've already heard a little bit this evening. It's been mentioned about our music program here. We did have 44 students from our district that were chosen to fill 354 slots. There were 740 submissions from around the state, and 44 of our students were chosen to be a part of that All-State Music Festival. And of those 44 students, 15 of them were chosen for first chair positions in their respective group. So congratulations to them. And then in addition to that, and another highlight of our music program was that 13 of our Fairbanks students were chosen to participate in the National Association for Music Education performing groups, which will happen coming up in February, I believe, where they'll join students from Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming in Bellevue, Washington, to be a part of a mass choir and concert performance down there. And finally, I would like to highlight something that was also mentioned earlier, and that's our swim team. And we heard about the awards that the individual swimmers had, but I want to highlight the Sportsmanship Award, which to me is a true indication of student success because it speaks to character. And character is one of the greatest things that we can instill into our students. And it is one of the greatest abilities that they will carry with them and give them that opportunity to capture their future. So congratulations to the swim team for their award in sportsmanship. And And that concludes my report.
Did you have a question, Tim? I think Mr. Dorn has a question.
Thank you, Mrs. Mullane. Two questions I had. One is just a quick update on the bus driver bonus. I know that's supposed to go into effect the end of this month. Has that been ironed out, how that's working? Or?
Mr. DeGraw and Mr. Anderson are still working on the details of that, but they have been actively working on that. So I'm not exactly sure where we are yet, but we're moving that way.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing, and I'm going to apologize, I meant to send you an email, and then when Ms. Taylor was speaking, it just reminded me, so maybe at some point, I know there's been a concern for the leaking steam heat pipe between the university and Hutch, which is a wonderful building because it's a sort of a partnership. It's shared between the university and the district. But as we enter into winter and get ready for summer, just that if maybe we could get an update where the actual plans are, who's going to be taking care of it. At some point, that would
Sure.
be good. I'm sorry that I didn't get you that earlier.
No, that's fine. And I can get you an update on that.
We don't want a repeat of the electrical at the last minute that was referenced.
I do know that our maintenance crew has been spending time at Hutch recently and working on the situation that's, and Ms. Taylor was here and we chatted just briefly to the hot and cold climate there at Hutch. So our maintenance team has been working on that issue.
Great, thank you. And thanks for the highlight, especially of student successes.
The next agenda item was the unfinished business, and currently we don't have any unfinished business. H is our new business item. Resolution 2023-14, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. School Board Resolution 2023-14 honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and proclaims the week of January 16th, 2023 as a time for teachers and students to conduct special studies of Dr. King's life, achievements, and to safely engage in service activities throughout the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District.
Move to approve Resolution 2023-14, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Second.
Thank you. Our student representative, Olivia Smith, will read that resolution.
Resolution 2023-14, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Whereas the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District envisions excellence and quality for all, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also dreamed for an outstanding education for all children, and whereas Dr. King believed education transmitted and accumulated knowledge of the human race as well as accumulated experience of social living, and whereas Dr. King dedicated his life to justice, equality, and service for the greater good, and whereas the principles, oratory, and achievements of Dr. King are worthy of emulation, and whereas the third Monday in January, a national holiday since 1983, has become known as a day of service by which to honor Dr. King's legacy, and whereas a day of service empowers individuals, strengthens communities, bridges barriers, creates solutions and social problems, and moves closer to Dr. King's vision of a beloved community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by proclaiming the week of January 16th, 2023 as a time for teachers and students to conduct special studies of Dr. King's life and achievements and to safely engage in service activities through this Fairbanks North Star Borough School District.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Moving to Resolution 2023-15, honoring. I'm sorry.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on the resolution? Are any board comments? Yes, Mr. Doran.
I'd just like to comment on this, having been old enough to be aware of his presence back when I was younger, and he was alive and promoting such important ideas for us. But it really came home to me when I happened to be in Washington, D.C. shortly after the dedication of the Martin Luther King monument there, that watching people come and share, and especially watching families gather and taking pictures in front of his statue or the words that he's shared and known by, grandparents to their children, to their grandchildren, fathers taking their kids, really brought home to me in a real personal way, and an appreciation for the power that he had in being a model, role model, and a champion for people. So I just, every time I have these opportunities, I'm very glad to support it, but really to have had that experience, to see that, what he meant to people. I just wanted to share that piece.
Any other comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Doran. Then we move on to Resolution 20. What?
Vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Richardson, could we have the vote, please?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Doran?
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy?
Yes.
Ms. Marati?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson?
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Now moving on to Resolution 2023-15, honoring Black History Month. School Board Resolution 2023-15, honoring Black History Month, and proclaims Friday 2023 and proclaims February 2023 Black History Month, and encourages staff and students to honor it during February and throughout the year with interactive research, classroom lesson plans, guest speakers, displays, lectures, and particular activities and cultural celebration. Our core value is to embody respect for the diversity and dignity of all. And I have
Move to approve Resolution 2023-15, honoring Black History Month.
Second.
the resolution will be read by Ms. Barnett.
Resolution 2023-15, honoring Black History Month. Whereas since 1926, our country traditionally commemorates and celebrates the contributions of African Americans during February. And whereas since our nation's bicentennial in 1976, each president has issued proclamations declaring February as Black History Month. And whereas Black resistance is the year's national theme and takes a look at how African Americans have fought repression from America's earliest days. And whereas African Americans have contributed significantly to the economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development of the country, as well as to that in the Fairbanks North Star Borough. And whereas African Americans value knowledge and learning. And whereas students of African American heritage are a significant population of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District student body. And whereas African American teachers distinguish themselves as educators in Fairbanks North Star Borough School District classrooms. And whereas African American principals and assistant principals have led their schools with vision. And whereas school board members of African American heritage serve with distinction. And whereas African American exempt paraprofessional and classified staff support all students' learning. And whereas incorporating an accurate portrayal of African American history into the curriculum and teaching the contributions of African American history, culture, society, and language in the classroom, promotes academic success for African American students, increases the understanding of all students, and benefits all citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education proclaims February 2023 Black History Month and encourages staff and students to honor it during February and throughout the year with interactive research, classroom lesson plans, guest speakers, displays, lectures, practical activities, and cultural celebrations.
Thank you, Ms. Burnett. Are there any comments from the public on the resolution? Are there any comments from the board? Ms. Richardson, could I have the vote, please?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Marati?
Yes.
Mr. Doran?
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you. Now moving on to Resolution 2023-16, honoring Elizabeth Paradovich Day. School Board Resolution 2023-16 proclaims February 16, 2023, Elizabeth Paradovich Day, and encourages staff and students to honor her historic contributions and commitment to the ideals of civil rights and non-discrimination throughout the district and on an ongoing basis. Ms. Hardy, would you please read the resolution?
Can I?
Move to approve Resolution 2316 honoring Elizabeth Paradovich Day.
Second.
Okay, now. Resolution 2023-16 honoring Elizabeth Paradovich Day. Whereas, historically, Alaska Natives faced overt discrimination in housing, theaters, hotels, restaurants, and public facilities, and whereas civil rights activist Elizabeth Paradovich, an Alaska native of Tlingit heritage, was leader in the civil rights movement in Alaska and worked for equal rights and freedoms for all Alaskans, and whereas Elizabeth Paradovich's courage, vision, and impassioned testimonies inspired the Alaska Territorial Legislature to pass a resolution entitled An Act to Provide for Full and Equal Accommodations, Facilities, and Privileges to All Citizens in Places of Public Accommodation within the jurisdiction of the Territory of Alaska. And whereas, when Governor Ernest Gruning signed the Anti-Discrimination Act of 1945 into law on February 16, 1945, it was the first anti-discrimination bill passed in Alaska and occurred 2 decades prior to the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964. And whereas, in 1988, the Alaska State Legislature designated each February 16th as the annual Elizabeth Paradovich Day in honor of her committed pursuit to overcoming discrimination in Alaska, and whereas Alaska's governor annually proclaims February 16th as Elizabeth Paradovich Day in Alaska and encourages all Alaskans to recognize and reflect upon the tremendous contributions Elizabeth Paradovich made to Alaska and her people. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education proclaims February 16th, 2023, Elizabeth Paradovich Day and encourages staff and students to honor her historic contributions and commitment to the ideals of civil rights and non-discrimination throughout the district and on an ongoing basis.
Thank you. Could we have the vote? Are there any comments on the resolution from the public? Are there any comments from the board? If I could just make a small comment. Whenever I think about this Native leader and the courage that it must have took for her to do what she did, I think about timing. When she addressed the body of legislators and gave that speech. Just think if she hadn't have had the courage, if she hadn't have been in the right place at the right time, from that day she gave that speech, 7 years later, she had passed away. Timing sometimes is everything, and it took great courage for what she did. Ms. Richardson, could you have the vote, please?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy?
Yes.
Ms. Marati?
Yes.
Mr. Doran?
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
The next item is information and reports. The Board Budget Committee report. Our goals and objectives is community engagement to ensure students, staff, family, and community are informed, connected, and engaged with the district. Chief School Administrator Ms. Moline will present the Board Budget Committee report and recommendations. Ms. Moline.
Thank you, Ms. Sanderson. And I'd like to invite one of our Budget Committee members, Ms. Curry, to the front if just as a part of the process. So I'm going to give a brief report, and then Ms. Curry, if you want to add anything to help kind of help the board understand the process that the committee went through. So you have the memo in your board packet of what happened at the board budget committee. So I'll just hit a few of the highlights and go over some of the things that happened and what their report is. So the budget committee working principles, they recognize the strategic plan as the guiding document and the resource of allocation, and keeping student welfare and success at the forefront. Number 3, assure input is evidence-based. Support a budget system that is transparent, timely, and objective, and promote participation and awareness for all district stakeholders. So those were kind of their guiding principles. They went through a process for identifying the priorities. They also they met 3 times in October, and they were given an overall presentation of the financial position that the district is in. They had some in-depth conversations, went through a process for identifying priorities. They also received presentations from each department executive director, and a little bit about what the department does and how budget decisions impact them. A consistent theme was heard and discussed and maintained that came through each department, and that was to maintain services to students and staff, while at the same time facing the possibilities of significant budget cuts. The final meeting and the approval of the input was on October 26th. There is one more budget meeting scheduled, I believe, for February as a final follow-up. From the board committee's work, they came up with 3 high priorities for the budget process. The first one was student success, the second, workforce and organizational excellence, and the third was communication and engagement. So With that, I will conclude my portion of the report and ask Ms. Kerr if there's anything that she would like to add to the process that the Budget Committee went through, and then we'll wrap it up and give Ms. Matheson a chance to put a bow on it.
Well, I thought you did a great job. If you don't know me, I'm Allison Curry. I'm a sixth grade English teacher at Ryan. And I'm the FEA secondary representative on the Budget Committee team. And back there is Wendy Demers. She's the elementary representative. Ms. Moline wrapped it up really well. I think the one thing I would add is the process that we go through is we take the strategic plan at the very first meeting, and each of us prioritizes. We pick out 3, or I think it was 3 things that we feel are the most important things for you to consider when it comes to our budget for the next school year. And then Mr. DeGraw takes that information and compiles it and then presents it back to us. And then we go through and hash out what things we thought were the most important. We each get to talk about why. And then he prepares a memo that we, again, go through and parse a little bit and have discussions based around what we think is the most important after weighing all of the challenges and that we're currently facing. And also having those departments come talk to us is very good because we really get to see a visual representation of how each department works behind the curtain. So that's very good for the committee to see. But yeah, so I'm willing to answer any questions if anybody has anything as far as like how we got to this point. But other than that, I have.
Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Durham?
Thanks, Ms. Curry, for being here and being on the committee, and thank you for Mr. Mears and all the committee members. And I also want to take the moment to thank Maggie Matheson for chairing the Budget Committee for the last year. Just a thought in terms of the conversations around the priorities. I noted that the committee said the top priority is class size. As best we can keep that and address that. But thoughts from the general comments from the committee on as we look at areas for we call them investments and reductions, without getting into nickel and diming, was the committee have those opportunities for conversation and anything you'd want to flesh out in here?
I think class size didn't get a lot of conversation. I think it was generally accepted across the board that the PTR that we're looking at right now is already pretty high, and that we wanted to make sure that we had on record that whatever we do, we have to try to not add another brick to that wall. And but I think as far as ways to do that, I think what we tried to do as a budget committee is we tried to keep our memo, we tried to err on the side of brevity and tried to tell the board what to do and not how to do it. And that's really hard to do when you're a teacher. Like that's what we do. We tell people how to do things. So yeah, I mean, I wish I had some answers, but I think that we all agreed that it was incredibly important that we really, really try to not try to increase that any more than we already have this budget, that last budget season.
And then if I might just interject to put an exclamation point on what Ms. Curry said, was that their work, and they identified their work as the what and not necessarily the how. So they weren't building a budget. They were giving input to the process, and so they kept to their work in setting those priorities. And Ms. Curry, along with her other committee members, did a lot of work around identifying the what, and then it's the board and everyone else that does the how. So I appreciate that.
Any other questions from the board?
Aaron Marati.
Hey, Aaron, go ahead.
With the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Moline, for the presentation, and thank you, Ms. Matheson and Ms. Gray for serving on the committee. I know it's a lot of hard work. My question is, I see a lot, and Ms. Moline, you may have just answered it, but just to be clear, I see a lot of what to protect and what to preserve and what to invest in. But did the committee speak any about what they may be willing to cut if needed?
As we stated earlier, that the conversation for the budget committee was setting priorities for the process. So they didn't get down into the weeds of, do this, don't do that. But they were very very clear that they were going to set the priorities for the committee, what they felt was the important things, and then the how was left up to the budget process. So it really wasn't their task to come up with what to cut, what to save, just set the priorities.
Okay, so to be clear, the budget committee focused on what to protect and what to preserve and what to invest in, and did not focus on what they would recommend cutting, just to be clear.
Right, they focused on priorities and set those 3 top priorities.
Did you have a follow-up
And then,
question?
yes, please, thank you. There's a lot of, a third of this is about communication and engagement. Can anyone explain how that's related to the budget, and maybe what, if there's a cost associated, or how it's related?
Ms. Matheson, I think, can address that.
Thank you. So for communications, of course, the budget, there is a budget for communication. We not only have staff, but we have social media platforms that I think it's Ms. Herbie that runs it, right? So it's not just about money, but it's also about the time that we're spending on the communication and engagement. Anytime that we have the facilities open, there's a fixed cost that we need to be aware of. Anytime that we have staff here outside of regular hours, if they're non-exempt, we don't have to worry about it as much as if we're paying someone overtime for being here. So communication and engagement definitely has a spot in the budget that we need to look at. And according to the conversations that we had at the budget committee, it's an important, it's something that we want to preserve. We want to have that open communication with parents. We want parents to have that communication with us. We need to listen to what our community is saying, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get children to either go to a university or college, to a trade, or to be employed. If we don't have the open communication, then how are we going to make sure that we're producing the right employees, the right students, and the right tradesmen,
May I follow up?
Thank you, Ms. Madison. Yes, Ms. Moretti, you can have a follow-up question.
Thank you. Okay, so to be clear, the communication engagement parts are the communication department, like investing in the communication department, and the communication tools that the district currently uses, or is it communicating with and engaging with families and students and educators and staff about the budget better, or is it both?
I can speak to that if you want, Ms. Matheson. Aaron, through the chair, I think that communication is part of it. I also think that we touched on in the committee how it's not just the communication department, but if you read the part where it talks about family engagement and how the district should support instruction and the use of a variety of family-facing tools and resources, That is a large part the informational technology department, because what we're talking about is how parents and families communicate with teachers in schools using those tools that their students might be used to using, like Google Classroom or any of our tools that students use. We want to make sure that we are able to make those family friendly as well. And so our informational technology department plays a huge part in the success of our district, and I thank them daily for making my life easier. And so I think that's the other part of it. And the way I think about it is, if we don't prioritize family engagement when it comes to things like communication over using technology, then we're not prioritizing families. And without families, then I feel, and I know you agree with me, is that that partnership is integral to our success as a school district. If we don't have our families communicated with and feeling like they're respected and on the same page as the teachers that spend all day with their students, then we will lose a lot of their engagement and respect. So I think it's not just the communication department. I think it also, that also is a large part of that is instructional technology, that we can't let them start to have less resources than they actually need to make those things a reality.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions? Mr. Dorn.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the discussion around facilities? We've made major cuts in that department over the years. And, I'm sorry.
Was that a clarifying question?
No, it's a direct question.
Go ahead.
As to where the committee felt that rose in the priorities as it impacts instruction in the classroom.
We actually had some pretty robust conversation regarding that. The executive director of FMD came to speak to us, Jay, and she gave us a great presentation and talked to us about what she has to work with presently and what she actually needs to make things work better. And even though we have less buildings this year, they're still stretched very, very thin. And so lots of examples of the way we need facilities to be timely when it comes to taking care of things in our building. I'm not just talking about like bursting pipes, but just things like hanging whiteboards and things that you don't normally think about. They are so far backlogged, and they oftentimes, if you look at their organizational structure, they have like one person in the whole district that does one job for all the buildings. And so that is an incredible amount of responsibility for one person. And so when we broke it all down to the kinds of positions that FMD has and looking at it back in history and how it's been kind of whittled down, we talk about deferred maintenance and how that obviously can be very, very taxing and expensive in the long run. And so the less people they have to take care of the maintenance, because obviously that just keeps getting deferred, we agreed that we had to keep facilities on our minds, especially because there were maintenance positions that were funded with CARES funds, with ESSER funds. And so that just disappears, right? So we had to make sure that that wasn't forgotten, and that's why it ended up. But facilities management directly impacts instruction every single day, and that's part of why we put it on our priorities.
Thank you. If I can have a question to Ms. Moline.
Go ahead, Mr. Dorn.
Ms. Moline, with the input from the Budget Committee, and I believe the principals have also provided, went through quite a work session of sorts for that. That's all then woven into the budget process you and your team will be undertaking over the next month and a half, as then you bring it to the board with the proposed budget, recommended budget.
Right.
Proposed, I guess.
Yes, to your question, all of that input has been put into the mix with the stark reality of what our task before us is going to be. So there's no avoiding the situation that we're in, and it's like we haven't seen maybe ever. So taking the input of all of the principals and the other stakeholders that we've engaged, our teacher advisory council, our principals, the budget committee, all that goes into the mix. And then we have hard decisions to make. So to answer your question, yes, it doesn't alleviate the pressure of what we're facing.
If I could just finish with a committee comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Dorn.
Just want to really say thank you again to the Budget Committee and to both of you here tonight, but to the whole committee. And I look forward, as Ms. Matheson's passing the baton to me as chair of the Budget Committee, and Ms. Hardy's joining us, the Budget Committee, that are, as you mentioned, in February 23rd is our next scheduled one, where we'll be looking at an opportunity for the Budget Committee to take a look at the proposed budget and give us some actual real-time feedback, advice regarding that. So for the public out there, it's good to know that that's coming. And to the committee, just a big thank you for all of your times on the continuation, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Unless Ms. Mathewson.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Moretti.
I agree with Ms. Curry that family engagement is very important, and I was pleased to see it twice, not just once, but twice in the priorities. In 2019, the district sent out a survey to all of the families and all of the staff and asked them to prioritize as a community different areas of the district. And it was very informative and enlightening. And I know there's a few parents on the budget committee, but with the deficit that we're facing next year, or this year, and next year, and so on, since we haven't done it since 2018, I'm wondering if the budget committee discussed doing this again for this coming up year. Discuss the district doing it this coming up year.
No, that wasn't a part of the budget committee's conversation.
Okay. Is that something that the district, if the board pleases, could facilitate so that when we have to make the decisions early next year, we have that information? I guess that is through the chair to the chair.
Yes, we can take a look at it.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Thank you for your presentation, for sharing with us tonight. Oh, I need to start with board comments. So we're going to start with, we saw Colonel Surrey pop up on our video feed. Colonel, would you like to have some closing comments?
No, thanks. I appreciate the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. So we'll start with any board closing comments with Ms. Moretti.
Did you say Ms. Moretti?
I did.
Oh, no, thank you. Have a good night.
Ms. Smith? Ms. April Smith?
I like the Mrs. Choya. 26 years I put in for that R. So, just saying. I thought getting Miss Smith would get me the misses. I had the pleasure of helping out over at West Valley, doing bathroom attendant duty for a little while, and just checking out how a building that's extremely shorthanded makes things happen. And it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I went, and I appreciate all the hard work that their staff is doing there, even when there are not nearly enough hands on deck. And been attending lots of sports and activities around the district, attended a beautiful choir concert, and enjoying engaging with students and families all around the district, and looking quite forward to doing some board work in the future. Thanks.
Ms. Matheson?
Thank you. So I'm on the diversity committee now, and I've gotten a lot of emails, or they're finally trickling in. And our next meeting is December 15th at 5:30 here in the boardroom. There are 3 vacancies, so if anyone's interested, we have 2 parent seats available and 1 member at large seat available. If you're interested, please call me or email me, or you can talk to Ms. Heather Christian. And I also wanted to remind everyone that wrestling and hockey are at full swing. Please show up for our students, go to the games, cheer them on. I actually got to go to the West Anchorage and South Anchorage game this weekend, and it's so exciting. So please support our Fairbanks students the same way. And there are concerts galore this week. We just had the band for West Valley yesterday. We have Lathrop band and orchestra and choir, and West Valley's band and orchestra and choir all scheduled this week. North Pole on the 12th, thank you. So please come out and support our students, and they're so talented. I'm just so tickled and so grateful that I get to be at these events with them. So I hope to see you guys there.
Ms. Hardy?
I would just like to encourage everyone again to do the 31 quality survey if you haven't done it. It's really important. And then I also had the pleasure of going to West Valley when they were a little short-staffed, and it was very impressive to see how the staff was able to handle that. And thank you to the science team. I got to eat lunch with them. And then I got to tour West Valley a little later with Miss Burnett, and that was just wonderful to see. We got to see Miss Galloway's class doing an amazing debate that just blew me away. And then the Denali luncheon that many of us served at, which was truly impressive, and the collaboration between Lathrop coming in and some of our community partners coming in and making that happen. And then Melissa and I have been attending a lot of different schools as the new board members, and we also got a wonderful tour of Lathrop and seeing how that is going. And as somebody who has kind of been around those schools, it was so informative to see it from a different perspective. And then we're also heading to North Pole next week. And yeah, very excited to see more schools.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr.
Thank you. I want to reaffirm what Ms. Moline pointed out about the West Valley swim team. When I saw they had gotten the sportsmanship award, really that stood out to me. I guess as a former coach of some teams, that was the best top award really to bring home. And it's whether you win in an event or you lose, it's how you act and work with everybody who's there, those interactions. And so a lot goes into that sportsmanship, and I couldn't let that pass without, again, a little pat on the back to their team for winning that. And I'll say for our teams, our district teams, I think have worked really hard over the years to exhibit that good sportsmanship, whether they come back with the award itself or not. But great congratulations to the swim team there. And I wanted to comment on the choir students tonight. I was impressed. In some ways, a relatively small group, but they really had power. And it was truly impressive to see them. And it's great to have those performances back at our board meeting. And the last thing I wanted to comment on is that a lot of people have talked about the importance of our board working together, because we are one of the great recruitment tools for a new superintendent, as well as important to be working together for the district and for our students. And I just want to say that I am very, very pleased to be a member of this board and to be on the team that's across the front here and online, because we've each taken a commitment to work together. And I want to thank President Sanderson for arranging for us on Friday to have a professional development day specifically for us to learn and to develop that working partnership. And I think it speaks highly of each individual on this board for the individual commitments, but to the group commitment to serve our community to the best of our abilities, and in particular to serve our students. So I want to thank everyone for that, and I want to thank President Sanderson for her leadership in pulling this together at a very, very important time for us. So with that, I'll leave my comments.
Miss Olivia Smith.
I really hate to beat the bush, but I get to be one of the last people. Wrestling, I'm a wrestling manager and I love wrestling. I think it's so cool. The boys wrestling regionals are happening at Lathrop this Thursday, and then the girls are all the way in Valdez on Saturday. Yeah. So they're wrapping up and they should be going to state next week. And I'm really looking forward to that. Should be a fun time. Also, as a North Pole Choir student, I feel very obligated to state this. December 12th at, I think, 7 p.m. I'm wrong about the time all the time. But there's a choir concert happening. And I have to say, the holiday concert is my favorite thing ever. I love doing the holiday concerts. And I really invite people to come and enjoy it with us. And then I also wanted to say thank you to all the subs who are working right now. There are so many out there, especially the librarians. Again, they're taking on like 3 classes. I think yesterday our librarian had 72 kids in the library that he was watching. So that's crazy. You're doing a great job though. I also wanted to say, as the semester is wrapping up, I'd like to wish students good luck on their finals, their concerts, their state championships, and of course, happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barnett?
I just want to reiterate a few comments that other board members already said. First off, the Denali lunch at Denali Elementary for their Thanksgiving was absolutely a great time. The Lathrop Dance Choir team was there. Bunch of us board members were there. It was fantastic. Thank you, Denali, for doing that. Been visiting schools, as Miss Hardy stated, Lathrop, West Valley, getting ready to hit Hutch on Friday. I'm going to be visiting North Pole next week. Thank you so much to the principals and staff that have been accommodating, allowing us to be in there. Miss Galloway, thank you for allowing us to bombard your class. As Miss Hardy stated, that was an absolutely amazing thing to witness. Also looking forward to getting to our middle schools and elementary schools at the beginning of the year. I know we got break coming up, so I'll give it a little bit of a break and then I'll hit the other ones, and looking forward to that. Thank you to the choir that was here earlier. That was an absolutely amazing performance. All of our staff right now, as Ms. Smith has stated, our librarians are working overtime, as are substitutes. And when we were at West Valley, we got to witness their librarians taking in a couple classes. And it was really awesome to see how they kind of came to the rescue for their schools. And I just really appreciated that. It's also holiday time. Think about our community and our children who are from less fortunate families. There's a lot of giving trees around town. Our Fairbanks Community Food Bank is looking for help as well, food donations, things like that. So as you're doing your shopping, making your rounds, think of the kids, think of our community, and yeah, happy holidays.
And thank you guys for your comments. And so for myself, I am encouraged of our workshop that we'll have Friday. I think it's important that the board continues to solidify itself as a team as we move forward with the work that we have to do. Nothing's easy. It's heavy work in the respect of what we need to make education what it should be in this country. I think what the legislators are really, I think they really understand that. I mean this in a nice way. Well, we're coming for them because we have to have the support we need to be able to have a good, solid foundation under these children. Again and again in our district, throughout our district, we see our students rise to the occasion. We see our staff rising to the occasion, but you cannot continue to do the work with less funding. It will and is becoming an impossible task. And when you have every leader coming out of a public school, unless you have private old money, every leader that is in a position in these United States, they have had a public education. And so we need to invest in our public education system. We need to honor and esteem our teachers and our staff and the wonderful things that they do to support our students. This community has showed us time and again, they are supportive of the education system. And when we don't have the platform or the foundation that parents are looking for, they find another way to educate their student, and then so they should. But for the most part, our community is totally a giving community, but they need our schools to be solid and that our students are succeeding and our staff is energized and valued to go forward to do the work that they're being called to do. So I'm looking forward to the work on the board because I believe that everybody sitting on this board right now, they have a passion for students. We all come about it in different manners, but the only reason we're sitting in these seats is that it's about students and it's about our district moving forward in a positive, powerful way to continue to produce the caliber of students that we see standing in graduation ceremonies every year across this community. So I just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas. I want everyone to try to take care of themselves. You see my voice is shot. And I'm looking forward to seeing the board members on Friday so we continue our work. And Ms. Moline, did you have any closing comments?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to just recognize the staff that serves here in this building, in the ADC. They're a dedicated group of individuals who show up every day to do their job. And sometimes it's they're doing maybe the job of 2 or 3 people because of the cuts that this building has had. So I want to recognize them. And I also would like to give a special appreciation to the executive director team that I have the privilege to work with. As has been mentioned earlier, we are starting down the road of a budget, a proposed budget. And it is a taxing, emotional, difficult process that we're going through. And this team of executive directors are walking through it bravely and really thinking creatively. So I want to thank them for that. Mr. DeGraw and his team are down with at the ALASBO conference this week. So they're joining with other like jobs across the state. Many districts with whom are facing similar kinds of challenges that we are. So they're taking advantage of that. And I also want to just for a second recognize Assistant Superintendents Kate LaPlante and Luke Meinert for their role that they play in the district. It's huge, and they work night and day. They show up in the morning and stay late at night. They visit schools. They facilitate meetings. They support parents and students. So I wanted to just recognize them and the work that they do within the district. So, and that concludes my remarks.
And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, board, for your work.